Part 1. The Start. The Corpse of Discovery. There was nothing that you would say was special about them. They chawed tobacco and cussed and caterwauled that they were double-jointed, fire-eating, leather-necked, half-horse, half-alligator men who could lick their weight in wildcats. They were picked almost at random out of the Ohio Valley of Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, or New England stock, merely a sample fistful of what American democracy turns out, as you might pick a handful of leaves and say, "These are oak." Any state in the Union can give you 10,000 such at any time, or 10 times 10,000 if there is a call to stand together in time of danger, or hold the line on land, in the sea or air, not without bragging and grousing and a sour kind of humor, sometimes terribly scared but never broken by fear, of courage undaunted. Sweating and rank, coarse, muscular, lanky, level-eyed, generous-minded, free-speaking, slangy, you don't have to go far in any city or town to find them, no farther than any street corner, or factory bench, farmyard, filling station, public high school. As Lincoln said, God must have loved them, or he would not have made so many. USA, March 4th, 1801. The bang of artillery thundered across the Potomac and echoed back from the Virginia hills. Washington, D.C., the new capital of the United States, was saluting the inauguration of Thomas Jefferson. At noon, Mr. Jefferson, with an escort of friends, had walked from Conrad's boarding house to the Capitol building to be the chief actor in the ceremonies. As he entered the Senate chamber, the waiting Congress stood while he seated himself in the chair which until a week ago he had occupied as vice president. Beside him on one side sat Chief Justice Marshall, on the other his defeated opponent, Aaron Burr. John Adams, the retiring president, had left the city at 4 o'clock that morning without waiting to greet the new president. Mr. Jefferson rose from his seat, unfolding his tall frame to its full height. In a low voice he read to the silent Congress his inaugural address. At the end he said, "We are all Republicans, we are all Federalists. If there be any among us who would wish to dissolve this Union, or to change its Republican form, let them stand undisturbed as monuments of the safety with which error of opinion may be tolerated where reason is left free to combat it." History was changing scenes in the great American drama, and the curtain was going up on a new act. Mr. Jefferson and the new Democratic People's Party, calling themselves Republicans, had ousted the aristocratic Federalists and their famous leader, Alexander Hamilton. The people had been stirred to anger by the vicious Alien and Sedition Acts and had staged a second revolution, this time with ballots instead of bullets. Wanted, a secretary. Jefferson moved into the president's mansion at the west end of Pennsylvania Avenue. His wife, his beloved Martha, had died many years ago. He would need a hostess to preside over the new household and manage its affairs. He invited sparkling Dolly Madison, the wife of his devoted friend and Secretary of State James Madison, to become hostess at the president's mansion. She brought the wit, easy grace, and ample hospitality of Virginia ways to the newly established household in the draughty mansion where Abigail Adams had dried the family wash in the unfinished East Room. The president himself did away with the stuffy ceremonies and formalities so dear to the Federalists and got down to business. Right off he needed a personal secretary of a special sort. He did not want fancy frills, but someone trustworthy and close-mouthed who was also understanding and democratic. Himself a Virginian, he naturally thought of his beloved Charlottesville and the loyal people of Albemarle County. He remembered gallant Mother Marks and her coon-hunting son, Meriwether Lewis. 10 years had passed since the boy had pleaded with him to be sent on an exploring expedition across the Mississippi with the French botanist André Michaux. Michaux had been found to be a French secret agent, and the plan had been abandoned. Jefferson learned that young Lewis was now in the United States Army. The president wrote a letter to Commander Wilkinson enclosing his offer to Meriwether of the post of private secretary to the president. In the letter to Lewis he said, "Washington, February 3rd, 1801. Dear Sir, the appointment to the presidency of the U.S. has rendered it necessary for me to have a private secretary, and in selecting one I have thought it important to expect not only his capacity to aid in the private concern of the household, but also to contribute to the mass of information for the administration to acquire. Your knowledge of the Western country, of the Army, and of its interests and relations has rendered it desirable for public as well as private purposes that you should be engaged in that office.